Welcome back to our channel. The Hidden Legacy of Parongpong Island, a forgotten story from Catanduanes and the Bicol War years. Catanduanes Island in Catanduanes is composed of Parongpong Island, which is 210 hectares. Calabagyo is 75 hectares, and a smaller island of Tignob. Don Antonio Medina's journey to the Philippines began as a young man of 17. From Spain, he embarked on a bold venture to seek his fortune in the distant land of the archipelago. Arriving in the southern region of Mindanao, he wasted no time in pursuing his entrepreneurial ambitions, investing in real estate and laying the foundation for his future success. With shrewd business acumen and keen eye for opportunity, he quickly established himself as a prominent figure in the local community, amassing wealth and influence through strategic investments and astute decision-making. His venture led him to the idyllic shores of Pandan, Catanduanes, where he saw the potential for growth and posterity. In the early decades of the 20th century, Don Antonio controlled a large estate that included Parongpong Island and lands near Pandan. The island was not simply a retreat. It was a working plantation. Rice fields stretched across the lowlands, coconut trees covered large portions of the property, and the surrounding seas supported productive fishing operation. Cattle and other livestock grazed on open fields. The center of the estate was the Don's large residence in Pandan, a two-story house with 4 spacious rooms, and a large bodega used to store copper and agricultural harvests. For the people living nearby, the estate represented both livelihood and authority. Workers, caretakers, fishermen, and household maids formed the Don's household. But the Don's personal life was not without complication. He took a maid as his wife. Over time, she became the Don's wife. Yet their marriage produced no known children. And in an era when inheritance and lineage were deeply important, the absence of an heir left uncertainty over who would inherit the estate. To solve this, Don Antonio adopted an infant girl and raised her as his daughter. For years, this seemed to be the official story. The adopted daughter grew up under the Don's care and became the expected heir to the estate. But decades later, whispers would circulate among the old residents of the area. According to some elderly locals, the girl might not have been merely adopted. They believed the child may actually have been the Don's own daughter. The story they told was dramatic. In a household with several maids, one may have become pregnant by the Don. To avoid scandal, the woman was quickly married to a caretaker working in the Don's lumberyard in Carmoran. When the baby girl was born, Don Antonio reportedly offered to adopt the child immediately, bringing her into his household and raising her as his own. Whether the story was truth or rumor remains uncertain, but it added a layer of mystery to the family legacy. Then history itself intervened. In 1941, the Pacific War reached the Philippines when Japanese forces invaded the country. After the fall of the Battle of Bataan and the surrender of Corregidor Island in 1942, much of the country fell under Japanese occupation. In the Bicol region, resistance fighters began organizing guerrilla networks to oppose the occupiers. One of the most prominent resistance leaders in the region was Wenceslao Q. Vinzons, who organized guerrilla activity across Camarines and nearby areas. Within this environment of secrecy and danger, Parongpong Island quietly took on a new role. According to family accounts, the island became a hidden sanctuary for guerrilla fighters, an isolated refuge where resistance members could rest, regroup, and avoid Japanese patrols. At the center of this wartime chapter was a young intelligence officer serving under Vinzon's command. His mission once took him to Pandan with a dangerous objective: rescue a priest. The priest had been marked for execution by Japanese authorities for allegedly assisting the resistance. With the help of guerrilla intelligence networks, the officer successfully helped save the priest's life. Years later, according to family tradition, the rescued priest would rise in the Catholic hierarchy and eventually serve in Rome. The bravery displayed in this rescue reached the ears of Don Antonio Medina, recognizing the young man's courage and reliability. The Don hired him to help protect the estate and his adopted daughter. At the time, this protection was not unnecessary. The adopted daughter had already experienced a frightening incident. A suitor once attempted to abduct her in order to force a marriage. Authorities quickly intervened and rescued her, but the event convinced the Don that the household needed stronger protection. Thus, the young intelligence officer became a trusted guardian of the estate. But something unexpected happened. While living within the household, the protector and the Don's adopted daughter grew close. Their shared experiences, war, danger, and daily proximity slowly turned into affection. Love blossomed. After the liberation of the Philippines in 1945, the two married in what family members described as a military wedding. The Don had hoped to keep his adopted daughter within his estate and even offered the couple the opportunity to manage his vast properties. But the newlyweds chose a different path. Rather than live under the Don's authority, they moved to Catanduanes to live with the husband's parents. There, he eventually became a schoolteacher, and the couple began raising their own family. Even so, their connection to the Don never fully ended. Feeling the loneliness of an aging household, Don Antonio frequently invited his adopted daughter to visit and stay in Pandan. During one of these visits, when her own child was only 3 years old, the little girl was brought to the Don's home. Family members later remembered how the child was treated almost like royalty. She had a permanent nanny assigned to care for her, and life in the large house felt grand and secure. But that chapter would not last. When Don Antonio eventually died, the family returned permanently to Catanduanes. The estate soon faced turmoil. The widow mismanaged and squandered much of the property. Eventually, one of her nieces somehow acquired the title to the estate. How exactly this transfer occurred remains unclear in family memory. Years later, another chapter unfolded when one descendant, curious about the family past, visited Parongpong Island to reconnect with relatives and old residents. During one of these visits, he began asking about the adopted daughter of Don Antonio Medina. The answers he received were surprising. Several elderly locals repeated the same rumor, that the adopted daughter had actually been the Don's own biological child. Encouraged by these stories, the descendant briefly considered pursuing a legal claim on the property, but the reality of such a claim was daunting. Land titles, inheritance records, and decades of legal transfers would make the process complex, expensive, and uncertain. In the end, the pursuit of ownership was abandoned. What remained instead was something far more enduring than land. A story of an island plantation in Catanduanes. A story of wartime resistance in the Bicol region. A story of courage, romance, secrecy, and family. Today, Parongpong Island remains a quiet place, its past largely forgotten by the wider world. But in the memories of those connected to it, the island is more than a patch of land in the sea. It is a reminder that history is not only written in books. Thank you for watching. Please press the like button and share, and please subscribe to our channel for more